meeting you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I'm calling the Town Services and Outreach Committee of the Amherst Town Council to order on December 4 at 10 a.m. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. We have a quorum of the committee present. Uh, this meeting is being conducted by a remote means, which is now allowed by the open meeting law as it's currently in effect. Members of the public can access the meeting by Zoom or by telephone, and the this is a public meeting that is being entirely done by remote means. We're making the best effort possible to make sure that the public is adequately able to view the proceedings in real time. And I want to remind everybody from the public that this meeting is being recorded and that it is being recorded both audio and visual. And with that said, I'd like to make sure that all of the members of the committee who are present can hear and be heard. Uh, Bob Hegner,
Present.
Council Ryan,
Present.
Council Lord.
Present.
Okay, so we have four members of the committee present, which constitutes a quorum of the five-member committee. And we're expecting Councilor Jennifer Taub to be joining us, and she just is. Jennifer, hi. Could you confirm that you can hear and we can hear you? Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay, you did. Thank you. Perfect. Uh, so I'd like to introduce everybody to Eric Weiss, who's the consultant who's assisting Paul Bockelman. He's from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. And I we will in a moment see if there's any members of the public who want to offer a comment. But Eric, is there anything that you'd like to say in introduction at the beginning?
I am looking forward to working with Paul and this committee on moving this project forward. I'm kind of excited by it. It's a very unique endeavor, and I think that it'll be really interesting to find the results we do and how we can proceed forward. So I'm looking forward to that. And for those of you who don't know me, I've been working around the valley for the better part of 40 years, working with municipalities at all levels. For a while there, I specialized very much in solid waste and recycling and help promote the MRF and a number of other things. So this is well within my wheelhouse to be able to do this, and I look forward to working with you.
Okay, and
And you have an office neighbor too that the council is aware of too. It's Susan Waite.
Oh, yes, yes. Susan Waite, who now runs the regional outreach program for DEP. I've known Susan for a long time because she was on the MRF advisory board when I was chair, and that's when she was working for Amherst as well. And I also know her because we now house that program within the PVPC. We provide her office space, et cetera. And so that was by my and they asked and I said yes, I think that the PVPC should house that program, and a negotiation between us and DEP and the executive director for the PVPC and Kim Robinson, and we now have that. She's three desks over, or like a quick walk over when I need assistance, and she's also looking forward to working on this with me as well. So thank you for reminding me of that, Paul.
and I've known and worked with Susan for many years because I'm the one who's about to leave the council, but I was on the select board before we even had a council and worked with Susan because I was select board liaison to uh, the committee that was dealing with these same issues. So, what I was going to do today is we have a practice with our committee meetings that we have a public comment period at the beginning.
Yep.
And uh, I know that there's at least two people who are in the audience who may wish to offer public comment that is on the subject that we're just going to be discussing. So what I would like to do is start with public comment and ask that anybody who wishes to offer public comment to raise their hand so that I know. And what I was going to do is then have you brought into the room and ask that you try and limit your public comment to 3 minutes, but we do want to hear what you had to say. And the first person who's raised her hand is Darcy Dumont. So
Darcy.
bring Darcy into the room, into the meeting. Morning, Darcy. And I just wanted to let you know, Darcy, that what you sent to me yesterday has been forwarded to the committee, and so that you can you know that everybody in the committee has seen what you have sent, and we can send a copy to Eric after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Darcy.
Hi, Eric.
It's been a bit, but it's good to see you.
We worked together on the early joint powers entity project for the community choice aggregation.
Absolutely.
Am I allowed to start?
Yes, please.
Good morning. My name is Darcy Dumont, and I live in District 3, and I'm speaking on behalf of Zero Waste Amherst. I'm going to speak briefly about Zero Waste Amherst's preferred language for a request for proposals from local waste haulers, which you are going to be receiving. I thought it was in the packet, but I guess you'll be receiving it. We think a well-crafted program will significantly reduce our waste, our climate impact, and cost to residents at a very little cost to the town. Currently, we throw out at least twice as much as we would under this proposal. ZWA got involved with this initiative back in 2021 and with 3 councilors co-sponsored a bylaw proposal that was then referred to TSO in August of 2022. Phase 1 of our recommended proposal would serve the approximately 5,000 single and 2 to 4 family housing units in town. Our recommended system would involve each household having 3 rolling carts provided by the hauler if the trucks are automated. Cart 1 would be for trash. By diverting compost from the trash, we believe it would be reduced by up to 40%. By adding a pay-as-you-throw system, we believe it could be diverted much further. Thus, residents would not need as large a cart as they use now. Cart 2 would be for recycling. For recycling, we'd like to model Pittsfield by using a manual or automated dual stream pickup and processing. Pickup can now be done with automated trucks on alternate weeks, 1 week for paper and the next for mixed recyclables, as in Pittsfield. According to the Springfield MRF, single stream recycling results in 20% diversion to trash, and dual stream recycling results in only 5% diversion to trash. Part 3 would be for compostable materials. Having curbside compost pickup allows for diverting a wide range of compostable materials, including not just food scraps, but items that are not backyard compostable, like compostable takeout containers, dirty paper, eggs, and meat. Potentially, yard scraps can be added too. The contractor would ideally handle customer service and complaints, supply and maintain the carts, collect data, do some degree of outreach and education, and spot checks for enforcement. The town could provide the billing based on a standard fee for service plus an additional or more frequent service needed. The town could supply official town bags in 13 and 30-gallon sizes available at local stores in the transfer station, as done in South Hadley, as a further pay-as-you-throw strategy. Phase 2 would ideally include our businesses, condo and apartment complexes, and municipal schools, buildings, and parks. ZWA has spent a lot of years discussing the details of this potential program, looking at other states and new developments. I hope you'll give plenty of consideration to our recommendations, ask questions, and include us in deliberations. There's a lot of information on our website about the history of this proposal and resources related to it, which we invite you all to look at. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darcy. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to raise their hand and be brought into the room for public comment? Seeing none, then I'm going to conclude the public comment period and turn to Eric and ask you to ask to share your goals for the meeting, and so then we will continue.
Okay. First of all, thank you to Darcy for saying all that. Those are all important points, and they're points that have been made over a number of years with regards to how to implement a best strategy in terms of best practices and best strategy on handling solid waste and moving towards zero waste. So the suggestions in there, I will certainly take into account. So I think the goal this morning was really just to kind of go over the scope of what I'm doing, how I'm trying to do the work for the town, how I'm working with Paul, and what would be the net results of that come out of that. And so I put together what I call the simplified scope for this, which just says, okay, we've started on the project, we're working on it now. The first piece was doing some research on the current status of waste and recycling efforts. Oh, you're going to put it up there for me? I appreciate that very much. And so I just want I want to reassure all of you that I have a long history of not only working in solid waste, but a long history of working with Amherst on solid waste. Years ago, before it was, I don't know if the word's fashionable or not, but fashionable, I taught a sustainability course at UMass Amherst as an adjunct professor. And every fall and every spring, we did a tour of the landfill and what was over at the transfer station. And so I saw it happen. I mean, those things were happening at that time. So that's all good. And I know that you offer a lot of services at the transfer station over at the landfill, and that there's private haulers and others that work the town over. So the idea here is to really characterize where you're at so that we can give a direction to where you want to go. That would be regards to previous requests for proposals, taking into account the Amherst Zero Waste Group's ideas and goals, working with the town manager. We've had a couple of preliminary and detailed discussions. We're going to have another one, I think, tomorrow. And we're really trying to dig into this the best ways possible to frame it in the best ways possible. So then there's a whole section here of trying to meet with people that are involved with town services, like your DPW director, and the comments that I get here today, as well as moving towards, and I'm just going to put this all in one big ball, and then we can break it down however you want, moving towards this best practices option. I see that there's some things that have been mentioned about Pittsfield and some other towns. This idea of going to pay as you throw is certainly not a new one, but it is certainly really beneficial. I've put them in place in a number of communities. I use the one in Belchertown myself, to be honest, and I really think it is a great incentive to get people to divert as much material as possible. But you need to provide them with adequate options if you're going to ask them to do that. You can't just say divert it and hope it happens. You got to be able to provide the services that go with that. So the idea here is to develop what I'd like to call a roadmap, but I don't want it to be just a report that lands on all of your desks and goes thump and nobody uses it again. I'd rather have a working document that says, here's the options, here's the directions you can go in, sort of a phased approach of how do you reach the end of phase one, phase two. There are going to be pieces here which will be really easy to do, and there are going to be pieces here which are going to be more challenging to be done, but all of them need to be identified. And then the idea here is to wrap this up pretty quickly. I mean, this window is a pretty small window, because I know you want to move on it towards annual town meeting, and you want to get this piece pushed forward in a reasonable fashion, but in a way that is also meets the town timeline goals and other pieces. So basically from now until April, there's going to be time spent mostly by me here at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to work with the town and put this together in a way that works for everybody. The details that are going to be really trying to do the right research and get the right connections made and have the right discussions with the haulers and some other people. Because this what you're talking about doing here with zero waste is beyond just what haulers can do. This is also looking into making it a comprehensive package for the town so that all aspects of addressing waste management, recycling, um, the circular economy, all those pieces are all part of it in terms of how you would create a program which would be beneficial not only to just Amherst, but also be a model to where what other communities can do around the Commonwealth. And to that end, I also know that there's some potential grant funding we can get our hands on for expanding the pay as you throw effort, and maybe in some other places, since you're talking about such a unique idea, the zero waste option, there may be other places that we can obtain monies from, if not the state, then others. And so I look forward to also trying to identify some of those and help help the town pursue those, because it's the second stage of this, which is probably the more challenging one, which is once you have a roadmap, what do you do with it and how do you implement it and how do you make it work and how do you line up all the pieces that go with it? And I see that as a significant undertaking, which needs to be well planned. I think that Darcy used the words well crafted, and I would like to echo that it needs to be well crafted. And so I hope that to get your input, and I hope to provide you with a product that can help you do that. So, in a quick nutshell, that is what we're at. But the idea here is really looking at all aspects of this in a way that would be beneficial to the town of Amherst and also there's almost an economic development piece to this in which you're setting an example of what you'd like to support and what you'd like your town to do to help support the circular economy and make it work better. So that there's another piece to this as well.
Well, thank you. One thing that I just wanted to use the word town meeting. We are a city known as the town of Amherst, and we actually have a council, and we meet year round,
Right.
so that we don't have an annual town meeting uh, deadline for.
Yeah. I
May.
meant more the fiscal year because it rolls over July 1, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that, and the other thing to note is that we let me just say that this started with Darcy made reference to, was introduced at somewhat of the urging of Zero Waste Amherst, but I think that some of us were actually primed to the issue already because of our prior experience. There were 4 original sponsors from the council a couple of years ago who were introduced to it. One is Shalini Ball-Milne, who's no longer a counselor, myself, Alicia Walker, and Jennifer Taub. Jennifer and I are on this committee this year. Next year, I am not going to be on the council. I chose not to run for re-election, so that of the original sponsors, there'll be 2 who are still on the council at the time. The other thing that I just wanted to touch base on and ask you about is that when we started, the recommendation that was made from this committee to the council and the council adopted was that we work towards an RFP that would sort of be the way to reach out to the haulers once we've designed a program. And I assume that that is a part of the process, but I'm not sure that it was specifically mentioned in the bullets that are on the screen.
It is part of the process. It's part of the final product is to have a draft of an RFP that the town can use. And then the question is, where does it go from there? But yes, that's part of it.
Okay, and then I'm going to just say one more thing and then turn it to my colleagues on the committee who should let me know if they what they would like to add. And maybe start with Jennifer, who's a co-sponsor with me, if she has anything to offer. But our goals are pretty similar to what you already heard from Darcy, that we are looking for um, something, a way of reducing waste that is going into landfills, and pay as you throw is an effective strategy for doing that. And we don't have to tell you why, because you know more than we do probably. Uh, the second thing is composting, for all of the environmental reasons that are people look for composting. And the third is that we really have what is not uh, turning out to have been a competitive system when you have private haulers, but we're now down to one major hauler that is virtually providing all of the business for people who want to have pickup at home. And we're hoping that introducing some kind of bidding into the process to pick a hauler, for what we've been able to learn from other communities, is an effective strategy for trying to do the best we can for our residents to have the most cost-effective system. Jennifer, as co-sponsors, anything you want to add?
Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Eric. We're thrilled to have you, and I'm very excited by everything you went over. I did have the question about drafting the RFP, so I'm, uh, you know, happy to know that that's also part of what's on the list. Um, and I also was very happy to hear about the grant funding that may be available. And yeah, I mean, any more? So my question is there also funding that might be out there to help us as we implement the program and even as the program is operating? That was one question. And one among the feedback that we've received from residents, and there's a number, many residents are part of Zero Waste Amherst, and I think that there's a lot of people in town that, of course, aren't aware that this is being discussed. But many that are, have been supportive and encouraging, they really came to the council sponsors. But there's also, a number of people who use the transfer station. And so what that has been communicated to us, that it's almost like a given that the transfer station remain open and an option.
Oh, yeah. You guys have invested a lot in that transfer station as well. So,
Yeah. And I think for those people who use it, a number of whom are on, am I the only person on TSO that doesn't go to the transfer station? They frankly tend to be the most ecologically minded and are already, doing all they can.
plus, it's a great place to politic.
Andy,
Yes.
at large, would agree. So yeah, that was so I guess getting back to the RFP, you would be drafting it, but you might not be with us through issuing it and evaluating the responses.
The way that we wrote the contract, there's an option within it for us to assist the town with the RFP bid as well, if that's determined, if everybody says, yeah, that's the direction we want to go. So the contract that we're signing, that we put together with Amherst, I'm sorry, includes of us assisting the town with the RFP as well. The bidding
Okay.
part. So, but what Paul and I recognize in that is that that's a few months down the road, and to say the details, we don't have the details now, but to say that we intend to make sure, because we don't want any of the momentum and information to be lost, that's for sure.
Okay. And in terms of drafting the bylaw, so you'll look at what we have as a bylaw, and then the sponsors have proposed amendments. And yeah, so that would be helpful. So you'll provide input as to whether we should refine that further.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
so part of what, also got circular with the council, and why, we got to the point of, drafting, going to the RFP, maybe before we had refined the bylaw amendment language, the question was, how much is this going to cost? And we couldn't answer that without,
Right.
the RFP. So I guess I'm just a little curious, how would you, so you would do, the work that's on that bulleted list, which is great, and then create a draft RFP or refined what we have, it may be a whole new bylaw,
Right.
before issuing the RFP.
Yes. That's the only way to do it, is to make
Yeah.
sure that that the pieces all line up with each other.
Okay.
If I can jump in on that
Yeah.
as well. So I think the idea on the way we structured it was that the bylaw is sort of a check-in with the council. Is this what you want to do? And if you say, yes, it's what we want to do, then we go the RFP process.
Right.
It does
Okay.
it's sort of an opportunity for the council to say yay or nay before we keep moving forward.
Okay.
Councilor Ryan?
Sorry, I'm taking notes here as I'm listening. This is obviously, I think, for many of us, very encouraging. It's great to have you here, Eric. It's been a long time coming, but it's a complicated thing, and I'm excited. What I'm hearing from you is also much of what we've been, I think, saying. It's been a while, actually. Our minds have been on other things for the last year at least. And I wanted just to note, first of all, that we made a presentation to the council over a year ago on this proposed bylaw change. And I was going to suggest that if the committee and the chair is open to it, that we just send you bullet point slide presentation, PowerPoint. I think it probably won't tell you anything you don't already know, but it gives you some taste of how we presented this to the council and to the public initially, and what the background briefly was, and then what sort of our goals are. So that's something maybe after the meeting, if people are open to that, I would ask the chair to just have that sent to you to look at. I had a couple of quick questions. First thing you should be aware of, in case you don't know it, is that come January, I mean, the timeline here is pretty tight, if I understand it.
Yeah.
You started work in November, and the expectation is you'll be finishing at the beginning of April. So we're talking about a 4-month timeline, as I see it. Come January 5th, actually, it won't be probably until at least a week or two later, you will have a new TSO committee. All of the people you see here Andy, as he just said, is no longer going to be on the council. Bob is no longer going to be on the council. He's stepping away as well. So you'll have an entire new TSO committee. I don't know how much that will impact you and your work, but you should be aware that this committee will change membership, perhaps quite radically. And so the question I have is when you would be coming back to TSO. When I assume we would be besides you're working with Paul, obviously, and with staff primarily, but at some point, I assume you would come back to us and sort of give us a sense of where you stand and what's going on. Or is it more a matter you'll come back when you finally have a draft bylaw? So one question is, when will this committee see you again?
So we haven't really talked about that in terms of putting the proposal together. Well, when the new TSO forms, we can talk about that. I think there wasn't a time. I forget if we did. We may have put in a check-in time.
Yeah.
in
What we did was we put in a check-in time for a meeting with like this committee again on the 15th of February. But we did also talk about checking back in January, between the middle to the end of January once the council was reformatted. So we talked about both.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out when the new council gets formed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the other question I have is how we get the public, and this is a question maybe for the committee and for after, maybe for another time, but how we get the public involved in this, so that they know what's going on. Is it something that happens once we actually, I mean, it seems it would make sense once we actually have a draft RFP, which would be, it sounds like, actually, I think you said you're going to start with a bylaw first. Is that correct? Yeah. So we'd get a draft bylaw. And that would, I guess the question for the colleagues really is how do we get the public involved?
If I can make a quick comment, which is that I think that community engagement is key. So um, wherever and what sort of whenever you feel that that's appropriate, there's always the opportunity to do a public presentation or something like that to engage people. And the idea here is that you say a lot of people are interested, which is great. So bring them together. Let's make sure that something happens.
Yeah, I assume that Stephanie Giffen, who does a lot of the public engagement assistance with town, will be available to help TSO with that part of the process when we get there. Bob Hegner.
Yeah, Eric, this is the only time you're ever going to see me because as George mentioned, I did not run for reelection. Um, one of the things that people have said, I'll echo what Jennifer said, was keeping the transfer station open and operating the way it's operating now for those who choose to use it. That's very important to a lot of people in town. The other thing that I've heard concerns about, and I share some of those concerns, is bears getting into trash and recycling and especially food waste that's put on the curb. And so there obviously is a way to deal with that if Pittsfield is dealing with it, but that's something that needs to be addressed to address those concerns for people. The other thing that I'm hoping for personally is that this effort would result in a lower cost to residents. Now, I mean, costs are going to go up, obviously, between now and then, but and I don't know what the inflation will be, but it may not look like it's a lower cost than we're paying now. But the inflated cost, if you will, needs to be as low as possible. And that's a big issue with a lot of people in town.
Well, and costs are measured in a number of different ways with regards to cradle to grave, in terms of materials and material use, and the whole idea of the circular economy. When you put things back into the economy, then you're not paying to dispose of them. So there are other pieces that go with that. Just one real quick aside for this committee. You mentioned bears. Years ago, I got this video from somebody, and you know the black compost bins that are given out? They're like the size of a large garbage pail, but they have the top on them. This bear had picked it up, it put it over its head, it was looking around, finally it just tossed it aside. But it was a very entertaining video. But yes, sometimes that can happen that way. So
I actually have a picture that I can share with the committee later that one of my neighbors took of a bear looking into a trash bin up the street from us. And it looks, when you look at it, it's almost like a person in a bear suit looking in it. Jennifer.
Yes, I just wanted to make a request. If we promise not to hold you for more than 10 or 15 minutes, if TSO might get maybe a monthly update, that would be great. I would think at least one of us will be on TSO.
So we didn't contract with Eric to come to monthly meetings. We
Okay.
contracted for him to do the work, and I can update you on things.
Okay.
It's just unfair our consultants don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Well,
I'll follow his lead.
So, Ren, is there other things that you would like to hear from us about what our goals are? And one other thing I might just say is, as far as bylaw and policy, currently we have a bylaw that is very light on content that essentially says that there's going to be a system, and most of the regulation is actually in Board of Health regulations.
Yep.
And so how we structure after a program as far as what the Board of Health's role is and what needs to be done in the way of bylaw or council policy is something that the council is going to have to work out. But we felt like, at least from our side, we needed to know whether a program could be designed that was feasible before you get into that, that kind of part of it. So, Eric, what are you hoping today and to get for additional thoughts or information?
Well, first of all, I fully recognized beforehand, but now it was emphasized how important this is, how serious Amherst is about this, and that's great. So that'll actually I think, make this all go even better because you have a lot of caring, thoughtful people who want to see this happen. The other part is that I really think that with the right approach, if we can create something that is unique and therefore attractive to be looked at as replicable around the state or something like that, I think that that might have value in terms of it being attractive for grant monies and things like that. It's a very awkward time for grant monies, as we all know. So I don't know what is or is not available, but I'm hoping, I do know the pay-as-you-throw grants have support for bags and carts and things like that. So there's places we can go to get some help with that, and other communities have done that. And so I will be carefully looking into that and talking to Susan about that very much because that's very much in her bailiwick. Um, and then lastly, I just know from my conversations with Paul that this needs to be well crafted. This needs to be something that you can use as a guide to move yourself forward and not just a report that sits on a desk. And that is the way I work. I really don't like writing reports that sit on desks. That doesn't really work for me. I like to have a guide. It's not quite a living document, but it gives you an opportunity to be able to get things done.
Those, I don't have too much else that I can add to what we've already said about where we came from and what our goals are. I do agree with what my colleagues have said about how important the transfer station and its current operation is. And when I forward the item to you that the committee has already seen, that Zero Waste Amherst provided to me yesterday with their recommendations, they also got into the questions about the role of the current transfer station for things that need to be recycled in an effective manner, and how what's the best way for people who are still wanting to have home pickup to have access to the transfer station for those limited purposes. And I'm sure we'll be getting more feedback from Zero Waste Amherst and their thoughts about that topic as we go. Councilor Ryan?
So I just want to conclude my thoughts. I think this is very, very informative. It's very encouraging. I want to thank Paul very much for making it happen before our term ended, and thank Eric for coming and making his presentation. And I think we should let Eric get to work since he doesn't have a lot of time.
If I can just add to that, so the reason we set April 1st is because if there's any budgetary implications, we want to make sure that I was able to be incorporated into the budget for FY27. And I think that presentation, George, that you recommended, that if we can, I'm not sure if anything can find it, I'll find it. But I think that would be a real good orientation document for Eric to start with.
Yeah, that would be great to have. Absolutely.
I'll send it to Andy, and Andy will forward it to you on behalf of the committee.
Yes, and I guess my comment is that I had hoped that while I was still on the council, we would have concluded this project, but that didn't happen. But it is encouraging to know that it's not dying, because I, as an original advocate for getting this going, will not be on the council after beginning of January. Um, so is there anything else that you'd like to say or the committee members, Jennifer?
No, I just wanted to echo what you and George have said, that we're thrilled to have you. Not a moment too soon, and we look forward to working with you. So
I'm excited about doing this project.
So I'll leave it to you as to whether there's anything else you would like to have from the committee today.
I've been able to work through Paul to get what I need, and he sent me some historical information. If I can get that PowerPoint, that would be great. And any other documents that you think are relevant to this, just to make sure I can cite all those and make sure that we know we've got them. They could be appendices or at least be gathered in one place. So
Okay, well, I can work with Councilor Ryan to make sure that we can think of all the documents that we have, the various things that we've used for presentations, one of which is also something that was from an MMA conference when they still called it the MMA conference. A couple of years ago, they did there was a session on this very topic, and the slides that were put together for that are available to us, and we've been using those a lot too, or pieces of them.
that'd be great.
So I don't know if you've seen that presentation. If not, I'll forward that to you.
I think I saw it in Boston, but I would still love to get a copy of it.
I have it on my computer. I can send it easily.
Okay.
So is there anything else because otherwise we have one other major agenda item that we have to address today. So I don't want to take more of your time if
Yep.
you've got what you need from us today.
I'm good. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being here. And it was great meeting you this way.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. So for the committee, our obvious additional thing, and I know, Paul, if you have anything you want to say about it, or we would just want to keep going. There was a discussion, obviously, at the council at the first reading of the Transportation and Parking Commission. And it's calling for us to propose some revisions to the documents that we provided to reflect some of the concerns that were raised by the council. And I think that that's what our other task of the day is. Paul, do you have any suggestions or comments about what you heard and the direction we're taking with the commission proposal?
No, I think they had a pretty good conversation, and it's sort of, I think the getting more specific, when we use examples, the only thing I was a little confused by was when we start to use examples, like what's the difference between a roundabout and a mini roundabout? That's in the eye of the beholder. I think that we might want to be careful about the phrasing that we actually use in terms of what the council wants to keep, and what it wants to provide to the new committee.
And of course, that division was not that the commission would not be involved, but where the final decision lay. And that is very much at the core of what the issue is about, because I think what was being said is that the major, it was described as in the original policy, as major layout of streets is something that is reserved to the council. And I think that what we're trying to do is to at least have the council work with better system of getting a recommendation and
Mhm.
looking for the commission to provide that recommendation in a process that is more informed and more efficient. Because I think your point from the very beginning has been there's a lot of inefficiency in the system that
Mhm.
uh, so with that, what I would like to do is probably if there's agreement from the committee to do this, to put a document on the screen for discussion that we can actually make changes to as we go through, or at least see what happened. I sent out number of items yesterday that I had asked Tina to put into the packet because it was only in the SharePoint packet, because that's the only one that I can add to. And then Councilor Ryan has made some suggested changes to it, but it is so that that would be the document I would like to put on the screen, which is the what I sent you yesterday with Councilor Ryan's comments. So if that is okay with you, let's see if I can find the. I think it's this one. So let me try it. So do you have? Go to the top. Yes, this is the correct document. And can everybody see it on the screen?
Yes, and it's in the online packet too.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, and maybe Councilor Ryan will help me with this, is to just go through and stop at points where there have been changes. And so we're the first section where there was changes, which you see is Councilor Ryan had made some suggestions which were just where I had missed on wording and the speed with which I was trying to do this. But one of the issues that had come up was brought up by Councilor Haneke, and I thought was actually an interesting and important point, which is to make sure that anything that is developed in the way of bylaws um, does get considered, and it's the responsibility of the commission to make sure that it's considering all of the relevant material. So that's what number 4 is about, is to put into that general charge point. And what appears on the screen in blue are corrections or additions that were offered by Councilor Ryan. So, Councilor Ryan, you have your hand up. Do you have comments you'd like to offer
Yeah,
here?
so what I thought I was trying to do, and I hope this is clear to everybody. It wasn't clear to me originally when I read the original language that what this is saying, in my understanding, is that when this body is when it's doing its work, it is asked, required, assumed that it will consider any relevant zoning or general bylaw or council policy. They're not actually being asked to offer suggestions about zoning or bylaws or council policy. What this simply says is that when you're doing your work on something that's been assigned to you or something within your purview, you should take into consideration any relevant zoning or general bylaw or council policy. Now, that was probably obvious to everybody, but it wasn't to me. That's my understanding of what this is trying to say, and I hope the language here makes that clear.
And part of this is that I have had conversations with Councilor Haneke about this. uh, fairly recently, so that she is looking to bring back to the council a proposal on dealing with the streetlight issues that she's been concerned about for several years and was in our original carryover memo, and is one item that we did not address that came in the carryover memo that we received was the lighting policy, where it was left at the last council session was that Paul and Guilford were going to propose a lighting policy, and with all of the work that they have to do, that it just they didn't get to it. So it sort of got frozen, and I think that it is Councillor Haneke's intention, based upon my conversations with her, to try and move this forward. And she recognizes that when you look at the experience in other communities and the MMA's best practices memo, that some communities deal with this as a matter of zoning, and some deal with it in other kinds of in their general ordinances or bylaws, so that it's unclear as to where it might come up. And this was a way of just covering that. And if it's done as a council policy, as opposed to a zoning and general bylaw, that it would come up, it would cover all. So is number 4 as currently written with the corrections and additions from Councilor Ryan acceptable? I'm not hearing anybody saying no, so I'm going to assume that the answer to that is yes. Councilor Ryan, you want to talk about number 5?
So I think there's a fair amount of I don't know, disagreement, or at least some. We heard at the council that how many reports do we want, how frequent, and also where should the language lie? Should it lie in this document, or should it lie in the charge document? So this is just my a hack at it. I felt that monthly reports might be too much. I thought an annual report is not going to be all that useful, because there's a lot that's happening. We hope there'll be a fair amount of things happening on this commission. So I just suggested quarterly reports. And I also thought, let's put all the language about reports, specifics about reports and what we're expecting in this document. And in the charge document, simply say that, there'll be a reports line item, but it'll simply say, refer to this document for the specifics. It could be flipped. We could do it the other way. But perhaps the first question for all of us is, what do you think about reports? Do you want quarterly reports, monthly reports, an annual report? Do you want quarterly reports and an annual report? Obviously, I'm just giving you my take on it. So that's my question for all of you. What do you want in the way of reports?
Jennifer?
I think quarterly reports is good. I think monthly is too frequent. I think quarterly reports is perfect. I don't know that we need an annual report. I mean, maybe, the final quarter, they want to attach the previous 3. I don't know what would be in an annual report that would build upon 4 quarterly reports, but I could be convinced. But I think having it, I think this format is good, to have the reports, quarterly reports be in the charge, and then to have a little more detail here. But I was concerned that, initially it would be like the Board of License Commissioner, where, a report appears in the packet. It's not even a presentation. I think that's fine for the Board of License Commissioners, but I think for this commission, quarterly reports would be just the right timing.
And of course, if the commission makes a recommendation to the council on a matter, that comes as a separate item anyway.
And if
If
there's a
that is
counselor, right, or two on the commission, if something important comes up at a monthly meeting, that could be reported back during a council
Well, I
meeting.
assume that if the council makes, if the commission makes a recommendation for the restructuring of a street, that whenever it's made that recommendation, its recommendation will be communicated as such, and that would be an additional form of reporting, but it would be very specific. And I think that that's also covered in this document already. So is there any?
So if we should scroll down so people can see the language change is more than just what you see on the screen.
Yeah. Thank you. So,
So, I
Jennifer,
mean, we're not trying to burden this body with multiple reports, which means burdening staff, and I'm sure that's a concern for Paul and for staff, is that having to generate even more reports. So that's my only concern. And I don't know if Paul has any thoughts on this one way or the other. But that's the one issue I have. But I think there is a desire for people to hear what's going on, because this does touch on issues that constituents feel strongly about, and we often hear a lot about it. So I don't think we'd like to hear about it at the end of the year. On the other hand, every month seems perhaps too much. So that was kind of the logic behind this.
So yeah, I agree with the quarter. I think you and Jennifer hit it. Quarterly seems to be the appropriate cadence for a report, and I think if we get this a system in place where they can just fill in the blanks almost, request, time met, and then it doesn't become a burden. But to have, and I think the sort of fail-safe mechanism is that you do have a counselor who at every council meeting can update the council if there's something of higher importance that they want to draw to the attention of the council. That's the main reason for having a counselor on the committee. I guess I don't understand really what this last sentence means, though.
Yeah, it's a good question, Paul. I think it was kind of like a little escape hatch that, and if we ever want anything, we can ask for it.
Yeah, well, this is a
yeah.
body of your creation, so I think you can do that.
No matter what, we don't have to have a sentence like this in it.
Yeah, I think
that's a fair. I don't know what I would think. Yeah, I mean, since they are, as Andy put it out in the document as it exists, there is language that basically says when you do make a recommendation, you have to provide us with, basically a report. So perhaps this sentence is not necessary. I had a similar thought as I wrote it. I thought, this is kind of like a CYA addition. Maybe it's not needed.
That's your call.
Jennifer, did you have anything more?
No, I think that's an excellent suggestion about having maybe a format that staff or the chairman of the commission, chairperson, can just complete, because I don't think reports have to be long, and I don't even know that we want to read a long report. So,
Would you leave the sentence in, I guess, is the other question.
Yeah, do people want the sentence or not? Yeah.
The one where in addition, an interim report providing written recommendations to town council and town manager may be requested at any time. Because I think that written recommendations are really covered elsewhere, aren't they, George?
They are, but I guess I was thinking of, something could come up that, is not a actual, request from a resident or from staff or anything like that, but where we would just like to have their input, and we could reach out to them and say, we would like you to give us your thoughts or recommendations on issue X, Y, or Z. I think stuff that comes to them in the regular course of business is covered well in this, I believe. And we now are asking for quarterly reports just as a matter of fact. So I guess the only thing I could imagine would be that, in course of council discussion or whatever, some issue comes up, maybe related to, pedestrian safety, bike safety, speeding, God knows what. And we think, gee, we'd really like to have TPC weigh in on this. And so the question is, how does that work? And maybe that would just be a request, but it's not a specific issue. It's just really asking for their input. But that was the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, I just put a comma after addition. Uh,
Bob has his hand up, I know.
yeah, Bob.
Yeah, I was going to say that this just seems to me to be unnecessary. I think the council can always request information from the TPC at any time. And I think that this doesn't really say, um, I don't know. I just think that it's unnecessary to put this in. I just think quarterly reports are fine. And then as things arise, we'll see, we'll see how they arise, but I don't see any reason why the council couldn't request information or request that the TPC look into something. They could do so through the council representatives.
So, how do we want to deal with this on have everybody?
I feel like I'm channeling my inner Lauren Goldberg, which is you just try to cover every single possible contingency. So maybe she's rubbing off on me in that way, but I agree with Bob. It is probably not necessary.
Does anybody who would like to have it stay in, raise their hand? Seeing nobody raising their hand, so
we can take it out. Okay.
Just gonna... Okay.
It's just a typo, right? It's a typo, that's all.
Yeah, this was the question is defining what we mean by requests, and so I did sloppy writing with the spelling and procedure, but my goal is pretty clear. Are people comfortable with this addition?
Jennifer has her hand up. I don't know if that's residual or not.
Yeah, general question. Have we decided that street lighting is under the purview of this commission?
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
So, trying to see where we have the next set of changes because this is just the original. Okay. There was a lot of concern about what we meant with the wording of the utility structures thing, where it said except for things in the prior paragraph. And so trying to clarify that language, I tried to move things around a little bit and put the utility piece into a separate section all on its own and pull it away from getting confused since it's such an important point, and just have a utilities structure section. So that was why I did that piece. So if somebody has a problem with anything that we're talking about, please speak up because we just have to keep moving to make sure we get all of our documents back to the council for Monday's meeting. So then this is where we had a lot of problems, and I think that what we're trying to do is by pulling out the placement of utility structures and just getting into a separate section is clear. There was a lot of questions about what is meant by traffic calming measures, which was to include speed humps or speed bumps, but many roundabouts and splitter islands. I think that the point that was being made at the council meeting is that those are really a road redesign as opposed to something that is just that is a traffic calming measure, which we are designating for the commission to make a recommendation to the town manager about. So that was what those changes were attempting to do. And I hope that that's clear. That's and of course, this sentence is no longer needed because it had to refer to the utility structures, and that's why that's struck.
So, Andy, if I may, the way it was presented to me by one counselor, in terms of the changes we're suggesting here, was that when you're making a change to the streetscape that, like a splitter island or a roundabout, it's something that residents notice and immediately have some reaction to or thoughts about, as opposed to some of the other changes, which are important but less noticeable, less of a. And so that was why the thought was maybe separate them out. And so when you're doing what broadly says is a major change, quote unquote, like a splitter island or a roundabout, that would be something that ultimately the council should weigh in on, but the others could be treated by TPC.
Does anybody have concerns about this section, which is major roadway and sidewalk redesigns, which is a matter that is being retained by the town council, but upon recommendation, TPC would be holding a public hearing and making a recommendation to the council, but it's a council action. And so anybody who's uncomfortable with this change, Councilor Ryan.
Well, I think Bob has his hand up.
I was always gonna. I'm fine with this change. I was just gonna suggest in adding, including, after including but not limited to, add that, which is sort of a way of, we don't have to list everything that might possibly come up in the future. Just including but not limited to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That just gives us flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it really doesn't need a comma after the word including. So take that. So is that acceptable?
That's fine.
Okay. So moving.
Well, if I may, Andy, Paul had raised some concerns about precision of language, which I thought was an excellent point. He's not saying anything, so maybe he doesn't have any concerns at this point, but I do want to at least give him the opportunity. Is his language clear enough? Does he have, I mean, he mentioned, I think, in passing many roundabouts earlier. Is this acceptable to him? Does he think this is going to create more problems than it solves, or does he have no view at all on this, one way or the other?
Well, the way it reads now, I guess because many roundabouts is in the common parlance now, we should mention it because
Yeah,
that's what people
that's
are.
good. Yeah, yeah,
But I guess the
Yeah.
question is on other sort of traffic calming measures.
yeah.
Which of course is in the prior section that
It's too vague. In other words, it would be better to have some examples or, I don't know.
One question I have is in the permanent major changes section. We only give examples of roads. We don't give examples of sidewalk redesigns.
Mhm.
I don't know. Paul, are there any major sidewalk redesigns?
Yeah, there is one that's pending on West Street where they want to realign the sidewalks.
Okay.
That would require the council approval, but it's a not significant, but it's a realignment for sure.
Notice it does say all major, Bob, it says all major roadway and sidewalk redesigns.
Yes, I noticed that,
Okay, yeah,
but we only include examples of roads.
right.
We don't so
Yeah.
we could put in maybe major sidewalk redesigns or something like that. I don't know, sidewalk
what it is. It
that's
does
in,
say all major.
yeah.
It seems to be saying the same thing twice,
Yeah, it's saying the same thing.
I think. Yeah.
And
That's right.
so speed humps are going to be with the committee and many roundabouts are with the council. Is that what we're saying?
That's what it looks like at the moment.
Yes.
And sidewalk redesigns are with the council, but crosswalks are with the TPC?
That's correct.
Okay, that's super clear. Andy, I
Wow,
think
we're open to suggestions from anybody about how to cut this up. But as I said, I think it's in large part it seems to be driven by how noticeable the change is to the public, and what you hear from the public. You probably don't hear too often people talking about a crosswalk. I mean, they would want a crosswalk, but if you put one in. But if you start making, they drive through and all of a sudden, it's blocked off because we're putting in a splitter island. But I agree, the speed humps that, yeah, I don't know.
Huge.
just
Yeah.
it seems odd that, I mean, in interpreting this
Yeah.
policy, if there were a proposal that was brought for a new crosswalk,
Yeah.
or I mean, that seems like a sidewalk redesign. It's just odd to have that one part of a sidewalk redesign pulled out for the council. That's odd to me, but
Mm.
And I think probably the most intrusive thing for most people would be speed humps if they're installed somewhere. I think that's
Yeah.
usually the most controversial thing. At least for Lincoln Ave, that was a big issue,
Right. Right.
I think people more frequently want speed humps than don't because it's a matter of bringing speeding under control. University seems to have adopted that as their major strategies we've observed of trying to keep speed down.
Well, I'm not sure we can make it. I don't think we're going to resolve this. I'm not sure the council can resolve this. Perhaps what we're going to do is just live with it, and it's somewhat arbitrary distinctions, and then over time we can change it. It's not difficult to change this, um, and unless somebody has some clear distinction that we could apply, I'm afraid we're going to have some sort of gray areas. It's like you know. Uh, some teams are on the bubble, I guess, and it's you just got to make a call, and some people aren't going to be
You're
happy.
praying for Notre Dame, I can tell.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's an obvious Notre Dame should be in, but so I think that's where we're at.
Maybe this is a reason Northampton just gave it all back to the council to decide.
Exactly, exactly.
I agree with George. I think let's just lay something down and, we'll see how the dust settles.
We'll probably have the same discussion at council, and who knows how long it'll drag on, but we'll try to push it through if we can.
Yeah.
So
We don't want
I
yeah.
think the pivotal question is going to be, do you want speed humps in the council or do you want speed humps in the TPC? That'll be the fundamental
Right.
question.
Where to put speed humps, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if the council wishes to make that change, it'll
Yeah, they
be
can.
made.
Right.
So are we in agreement that this is our recommendation with accepting all of changes that have been proposed?
Yep.
Are you going to go down to section 4?
Would you say, Athena?
Are you going to review changes to section 4? Down at the bottom.
Further down the document.
I think you're just missing TPC in B. TPC could decline the delegation of authority.
It should be inserted, is what you're saying, that it's missing there in
Correct.
B. In
Yep.
4B, we have the town manager, we have the Board of License Commissioners, the department heads, but we don't have TPC.
Right.
And the point is they're allowed to decline, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
That should be inserted.
So after
Okay, so
License commissioners,
Board of License
transportation.
Commissioners, then you put a comma or put it after the town manager.
Mhm.
Right. Thank you, Athena. We missed that.
so you would put in TPC too.
Yeah, I would just include it in this list of department heads, town manager, department heads, Board of License Commissioners, add TPC in there. And the easiest place to do it is after the comma after town manager, the second comma after the department heads under the supervision of the town manager, the
Mhm.
TPC put in there, and that's it. Simplest
Sorry
change.
about my cough.
Yep. Thank you.
And if it's okay with the committee, is sometimes when we accept changes, so I suggest sending this to the council as a track change and clean version. And sometimes when we accept the changes, there's some grammatical or formatting. I noticed there were some commas missing in a few sections. So I just want to make sure that it's okay that the committee will let us do that when we accept the changes and send it to council. Or we can accept the changes and I can accept the changes and make sure the committee's aware of them.
Should it be the Transportation and Parking Commission write it out and not have TPC?
At the beginning of the document, we created,
We do, okay.
we did the usual where the first time it's used, then we use TPC. It says
Okay.
TPC, and so we've designated that.
Yeah.
I'm
certainly comfortable with allowing Athena to correct any Scrivener errors
Oh,
or any
yeah.
typos or anything like that.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
That's not a
Yeah.
problem.
So What I would suggest that we do so that we can move this along to the next document and be done, meet our timeline, is that if we vote that we propose that this is our new proposed policy, that I send this document as it is right now to Athena. We allow her to make any additional Scrivener changes that are appropriate, and I'll leave it to Athena to decide how to handle it. Usually what we do is we send the council both the document showing the changes so that they can see what has been done since they last looked at it, and a clean copy. But that I'll leave that to Athena's discretion, if that's agreeable to the committee, and just ask for a motion that the committee proposes the change document as discussed at its meeting on December 4. Recommends that that version to the council. So
I so move.
Second.
okay, this motion's been made and seconded. Take a vote. Bob Hegner,
Aye.
Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Council Lord,
Aye.
and Jennifer Taub,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So it's 5-0. And with that said, I will forward this at the conclusion of the meeting as it is right now to Athena, and she can move forward. Let me see if I can stop share for a moment. So the next item that we need to talk about is any changes to the I think that maybe it makes sense to go to the committee charge for the TPC. So let's see if we have that one available.
Are you using Mandy's version, Andy?
Yeah, I'm looking to see if I have it here even. Thought I did, but
I can bring it up. I have it.
Yeah,
open.
Mandy's version would be the appropriate one, I think. I don't think we have any other version. I made some, yeah.
Oh,
um, I think this, yeah, this is Mandy's that I have on the screen now. So the question about that you had raised actually earlier about lighting policy, I think that we know that we have a counselor who's very strongly advocating that issue. And so do we want to include that as a criteria for selection of residents? Since we're saying that people, the 3 resident members doesn't mean that the 3 people are going to be found who are going to have all of these, but it just gives criteria to the town manager when he recommends appointments to the commission. Jennifer, what's your thought?
Well, I was just circling back to my question I raised earlier, we have decided that lighting is within the purview of this commission? I mean, it doesn't seem like a natural fit necessarily to me. I could, so we're saying in terms of pedestrian and driver safety, we think the street should be properly lit. That's how street lighting comes under this, because I don't think that's something we initially thought would be part of transportation and parking. And I guess
The Transportation Advisory Committee does talk about lighting. And I think that there's maybe a tension that is going to be coming to play here. But frequently their concern is that there is sufficient lighting
Right.
for
exactly,
streets,
not that there's too much lighting.
and so it can cut both ways. And I think that that's why in the last document, if a policy is developed and accepted by the council in the future about either zoning general bylaw or policy regarding the kind of lighting and the intensity of lighting, that that should be considered by the commission. Well, of course, we want the commission to follow any bylaws or policies adopted by a council. But somebody's got to actually apply it. It would seem to make sense me to leave it in the commission, but if others disagree, please speak
I
up.
wouldn't want the commission to be, I mean, so we're going to say to the commission, we want you to, as it comes up street by street, or we want you to develop a lighting plan for the town. I mean, that could take up a lot of their time.
I would think if someone came to them with a street lighting request or proposal, I mean, sometimes I would assume in most cases it's very specific. There's a light out on my street. It's really dangerous. I'd like the light replaced. And they could respond to that. They could make a suggestion or whatever based on, right? But if someone says, the town's, we have too many lights and I can't see the stars, or they have health consequences for my children, they would say we don't have a policy, and they would look to the town council to guide them. They certainly, I don't think, would be expected to craft their own policy. And I agree with Jennifer. I hope they wouldn't feel like it's their job to sort of make a recommendation about a policy about that. They would simply turn to the council and ask the council, we can't judge this because there's no policy by which we can do it. But if someone comes to them and says, look, as is the case on my street, is extremely dangerous whenever I back out, because a light that has been there for years has never been replaced. And I could imagine going to this commission and saying, I'd like this light replaced. And that's very specific. And at least the current policy would suggest that they could make a decision about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like not to see those words, health consequences of artificial light at night. I just don't see how that is within the responsibility or purview of this commission.
It does stand out. I find it jarring. You could also create a phrase for somebody who, and someone who is concerned about the safety consequences of too little light in
Right.
town. And I would be somebody in that group. So I think I appreciate Councilor Haneke's concern for this. She's going to pursue a bylaw on this, good luck. That's great. But I'm not comfortable putting this language in here. It seems too specific and it seems to be special pleading.
Yeah.
As opposed to pedestrian and bicycle transportation, that you'd
The
see
health
that.
consequences,
What about
But
the health
I don't
consequences
see how that applies. I mean, I realize public safety is health,
it's
but it just doesn't, it's just really like fish out of water to me in this commission's charge.
Well, the question, the way that it's placed here is that a criteria that should be provided to the town manager in selecting people?
right,
I
right.
disagree with that too. I don't,
Yeah, it seems way too specific and arbitrary, and I'm not against it. I mean, but it seems not very helpful to him. And I could think of lots of other specifics that I could like to
right.
put in here, like the health consequences of me running over my neighbor because I can't
Exactly.
see them when I'm backing out of my driveway, would be my first thought.
So, Paul, you have your hand up. I must.
So two things. One, I mean, you could just say street lighting and just like parking, street lighting. If you want to name it, you don't have to
Mhm.
talk about health consequences. It just so if someone says I really know a lot about street lights and wattage and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and there's one other sort of fix that needs to happen is the member. It's the on the fourth bullet. It's member of the commission for persons with disabilities. I think that's the name of it. The name of that committee.
Thank you.
It's Commission for Persons with Disabilities.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that that change may have happened. See,
Could Athena make that change now as we're talking, just so we see it?
This is Andy's document.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm not sure we should get capitalized here.
The P in persons does.
Yeah.
Um, okay, gotta do that.
Okay. So do people want street lighting, or do they want to just leave it as it is?
So,
Yeah.
you want to just say street lighting?
I don't know.
Or
I
take
mean,
it
I
out?
could
How about an
live with
expert? How
street
about an expert
lighting.
on speed bumps? An expert on, I mean, we could think of being expertise in 1,001 things.
Right.
Why are we focusing on this? Uh, yeah, I don't know.
So what is the consensus of the committee? And I'm gonna, and if is the consensus of the committee to take out this suggested change, and if Councillor Haneke wishes to offer it as an amendment at the council meeting, that's of course her right to do so.
Right.
Is there anybody who disagrees with taking it out? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna take care of that one by removal.
I mean, my only thought, and I'll try to be brief, is that, I know that she will almost certainly move to reinsert this language if we took Paul's suggestion of just including street lighting, which is a perfectly, I mean, that is both a health and safety issue, and it is something that will come before this body. And I could imagine Paul having somebody coming, applying, and they happen to have a background or expertise in that area. I guess the question is, could we compromise here and at least put street lighting without the health and safety consequences in the hopes that that would satisfy Councilor Haneke, and we wouldn't have to spend about 5 minutes or more, maybe more, dealing with a amendment and then the discussion. Are people open to that as a compromise?
Yeah, that would be fine for me.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, she still may go ahead and insert, who knows? But I think it would be a gesture on our part to meet her concern without, because I don't hear anyone thinking that the full language is acceptable. I think it's way too much. So Andy, we're suggesting just take out the language and put street lighting.
Yep.
I've just done that.
Thank
Yep.
you.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
When I send it to Athena, I'm going to remove the comment box. I'm not going to do that now.
Sure.
Um, so
So I think there's only one other change that she proposes, which is near the bottom under additional in additions. If we scroll down just a bit more, um, yeah, we see it there.
yeah, this is
And I don't know about anybody else, but I have some real questions about this. We need to talk about this. I really, this makes me really nervous, and maybe I'm just misreading it or misunderstanding it. And I know she's not here to argue for it, but I interpret this as, at least as it's written, as this commission sort of weighing in on what DPW is planning to do in any given year in terms of paving plans and sidewalk plans. And I don't quite understand. I don't think that's a good idea. Or maybe somebody needs to convince me that it's a good idea. Um, or maybe I'm misreading it, but I don't quite, what is this saying? What is this? What is this? What powers or what is this saying?
Jennifer.
So I'm comfortable with this commission making recommendations or providing on traffic calming plans. I mean, that seems like part of why we're creating it. I guess to the extent that DPW is represented on the commission, DPW, I believe,
Right.
creates the yearly street paving plans.
Right, right.
So the DPW representatives would bring that to the commission. I'm just trying to think how this would play out, and the commission would provide feedback. Is that
That's what it says, yeah. Right.
is intended here?
And just to the manager, not to the council, is what it says. Yeah. Paul, what are your thoughts on this?
So, I mean, we're getting into maintenance questions now. That's what this is. Paving is part of our maintenance programs. We come to the council to get funding. We report on what's being paved, but the decision on what gets paved, we really do leave to the town engineer and their professional judgment. You get into, I want this street paved or that street paved. I've seen it too often, especially in cities, form of government with mayors and councilors. It becomes just a political football, and I think we are a town that relies on our professional engineers and staff to make those kinds of day-to-day decisions on maintenance. New projects, like installing new things like splitter islands or traffic cones, I think those are more significant, but because those are more public policy things. But this, every year there are things changing, and I think, I'm hoping that when we make our presentation to you, and hopefully in February of next year, you'll see what we're looking for and what kind of investment needs to be made into our roads. So I think this is beyond the pale, is what I'm saying.
Your agreement to take it out?
You think
Jennifer?
even the traffic calming?
Well, I think that those things are part of it already.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should take this out.
It's in the 3 bullets above it. It says traffic calming.
Yeah. Okay. I'm fine taking it out.
I think we should take this out. I agree with Paul that this is really maintenance. I mean, as someone who fielded a lot of complaints about about the roads, it really comes down to, there's a priority, we have so much money, we have so many issues, and leave it to the professionals to make their judgment on what the highest priority is.
Well, let me play devil's advocate for a second, if you don't mind. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'm just trying to understand what the rationale was behind this proposal. What did Mandy and perhaps other counselors expect? And the best I could come up with was that in any given year, Jason, whatever comes up with a plan, and way this was written would be he'd bring that to this body, and then they would weigh in on this to Paul. But my thought was that that also would mean it's public.
Hmm.
So that allows, for better or worse, and I'm not sure which it is, but it allows the public then to come and comment on the plan. And I'm sure many would say, what about my street? What, da, da, da. But it has that public element. And that's the only thing I could think of that this was perhaps meant to provide for. Um, but that was my best guess on this, was that it would every year in theory, or whenever a plan was being presented, there would be a meeting for the public to come and say their piece if they wanted. Whereas right now they don't. They can't. The plan is presented, and that's that's it.
Maybe um, if that's the goal, if the goal is to promote public awareness of the paving plans and the priorities, maybe
Yeah.
that last this last bullet, foster public awareness on paving strategies, transportation safety. Just add something
You
into
put it
that.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I could see putting it in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So
I mean, isn't it the council's responsibility to
Mhm.
look at these paving plans and say, wait a minute, I think this road needs to be on the list. I think it's,
the problem that I have with it, because I see your point, but in the end, uh, somebody's got to take responsibility for
Right.
how much money do we have? What is the most traveled street? What is the one that is going to have the greatest effect on the largest number of people uh, for repairing, and what kind of deterioration can take place if we don't address the issues now? Those are all professional judgments, and
And
to,
Jason has presented us a plan that spells out the criteria they use, and it's pretty detailed. So it's not just, trust me, I'm an expert. It's here's the criteria we use, here's the money we spend to get these roads surveyed and rated, and here's the charts and so on. Um, so it's a pretty thorough professional analysis. If we start, yeah, it seems like a dangerous path to start saying, well, let's have this commission start weighing in on it. Um, and while the public should have an opportunity to complain or present their druthers, our view has been traditionally, I think, that we trust the experts. What people often ask is they just like to know what the list is. They'd like to see, and Jason has provided that to some extent. Here are the roads most in need of repair, and here's the priority list. And if you give me enough of money, I can do it. But if you don't give me enough money, I can only do a little bit of it. And then you ask me I'm going to have to make tough decisions that often are dependent as much on money as they are on actual need. So, yeah, I'm not sure we want to get into this. I think we want to trust the experts. As long as it's transparent and, I mean, that this commission could have a place for people to come. I mean, they could present the plan or they could talk about it. Um, but yeah, I don't think they should be given recommendations.
let's hear from Jennifer and then Bob.
Yeah, sorry.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, the list could possibly be brought to the commission, with it, an explanation of how the streets were selected. I mean, I'm just thinking of example, North Hadley Road, which is down the street from me. It's a little street. And 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, it was on the repaving list. And there were people that asked, it's this little street like nobody drives on, why is it being repaved? And Paul gave us an explanation, I think in TSO, which was that after Fieldstone went in, they were putting in parking meters. So it was actually a revenue generating street for the town. And so that was very helpful to be able to share that with constituents. But yeah, I'm a little torn too, but I think, if we invite the public to have input into which streets are paved, the majority of people are not going to be happy because we can only do so many. So I always feel like if you're inviting input and you really can't take the input, then
Right.
that's not really fair.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar, which is you can create a plan today, but as Paul can attest, things are going to change, and you're going to have to change that plan going forward because there's more deterioration here or whatever, and or things are unexpected, and so that's one reason that I mean I've always wanted to see like a 10-year plan for everything, but you can't do that because like I think it wasn't it I can't think of the name now, but the road that goes in front of Applewood, that wasn't on the list, but suddenly got on the list because it deteriorated
I
a
think it was
lot.
Lennon Way, maybe.
No, it was the main road there.
West Bay
Oh,
Road.
hey, West Bay.
Anyway, but the point is, we have to leave it up to Jason and the DPW and Paul to figure out what we need to do with, today, and we can't, we can put it on a list, but it may not be 2 years from now. It may be a year from now, maybe 5 years from now before we get to that because of other things that happen. Just people need to understand that you can't promise you're going to pave a road 5 years from now or 2 years from now because we don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Shall we leave it as is?
I would recommend leaving it as is, and then, if
Yeah.
people want to get into paving, they can get into, we can fight it out with the council.
So Andy, before we get to reports, if you're willing, I would like to propose, and I didn't get a chance to put it in this document. I'm sorry, but I wanted to propose an additional bullet. I feel strongly, I'm just going to describe it briefly before I spell out the language, but I would like to see some kind of statement among these bullets that specifies bike and pedestrian safety. And I felt I'd also like to have the safe routes to schools program mentioned. But the current document talks about, in the next bullet, bicycle and pedestrian facilities. But I would very much like this body to, for instance, in Northampton, they have a subcommittee which is focused on bikes and pedestrians. And I think a lot of people who've been involved traditionally in our transportation advisory committee have been cyclists. My impression reading this is that it seems to have fallen out of the mix. And I may be alone in that, or maybe in the existing language, you could justify what I would like to put in as a separate bullet. But I would like to put language in that makes specific reference to bike and pedestrian safety and potentially even referencing the Safe Routes to Schools program. Before I put that language or ask that language to be put in, do people agree with me generally that this would be a good thing? Do they feel like it's something that we should emphasize? Is it missing in the current document? That's my impression, but I don't know.
So but your essential thing is that you want to do something more than just foster public awareness.
Yes, I would like them to. I mean, we still have not adopted a bike and pedestrian plan. There is a lot of money available in safe routes to schools. And one of the things that I would like to leave as a legacy is that we are more conscious of pedestrian and bike safety and encouraging people to find alternate ways to move about as much as possible, but particularly making routes to schools safer. It's expensive and maybe it'll take many years, but and I just like it to live somewhere. And would seem to be the right place for it to live.
So what is your proposed language?
Well, Jennifer has her hand up. We should perhaps hear from her, and then if people are open to it, I'll propose some language. But yeah,
Jennifer?
I agree with George, and not to beat a dead horse, but I think that is very relevant, more so than street lighting, except to the extent that street lighting, we need more street lighting for safety. But I think that bike and pedestrian safety, and also, as George said, there's a lot of there is funding there. So this commission seems like a very appropriate body to address that concern, which is top of mind, I think, on the public's mind.
So you have language, George?
yeah. If you bear with me, Andy, I'll read it out. But if you'd insert this bullet, it would begin: advise the town council and the town manager on all matters related to bike and pedestrian safety.
I realize I'm not doing well, but
That's what, yeah. So advise the town manager, right, and town council, town manager on all matters related to bike and pedestrian safety, in particular promoting the Commonwealth's, quote, safe routes to schools, unquote, program.
oh God.
Sorry, I just didn't get a chance to put this in the document. I apologize, but and I guess as Andy's typing it, I mean, one question is whether that's too specific. I just really think that's an important program. I'd like it to be mentioned. I think it's critical in sort of this larger perspective of bike and pedestrian safety. That's why I put it in. But my main point is that I would like them to know that they're very much empowered to weigh in on matters related to bike and pedestrian safety.
Um, so advise the town council and town manager on all issues.
All
related-
matters.
What?
Okay, fine. Related to bike and pedestrian safety. Comma. And then this is the extra, in particular, promoting the Commonwealth Safe Routes to Schools program. Yeah, thank you. That's a semicolon for what it's worth at the end.
Yeah.
I'll go
Thank
for a
you.
second.
Yep.
So
And there's an S after the apostrophe. So what do people think about this? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the council thinks, but you're willing to put it in at least and see if it flies? I just felt when I read it, I thought, where's bike and pedestrian safety in here? And this is really something we hear a lot about. There are a fair number of people very active in this. And I thought of the Northampton experience and also tax experience with people involved in biking. So anyway.
Is there anybody who objects to the addition?
Paul,
I just caution you, this is a lifelong document. This Commonwealth Safe Schools, Safe Routes to Schools
right,
program could terminate tomorrow. I just don't think
right.
you should reference that. I think just put a period or a comma at the end of the word safety.
And just leave it there.
Yeah.
And trust them to be aware of and to obviously do their homework in terms of what's out there and to explore it and blah, 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 blah.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. I wondered about that.
Yeah, I
So good.
agree. I
Okay.
mean, particularly, there may be other things that crop up that we don't want to
No, sure.
include.
Yeah. Good. And I'm sure people who are active and engaged in this area will certainly bring all this to them and talk to them and so
Oh
on.
yeah.
No, but it's, that's good. Okay, good.
Anything else? Is there anybody who's not comfortable with this addition? Seeing no hands going up.
Jennifer has her hand up.
Jennifer's hands is up.
No, this
Jennifer?
is just, I have a hard stop at 12, so I didn't know if we were going to be voting on this.
Yeah, and we have one other thing that we need to get to, so we
We
need
did
to-
it before by consensus. I don't know that we need a vote. Or did we vote? I can't remember now. My God, I'm losing it. Did we vote? I guess we did. We did vote,
We
didn't we?
should vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the motion would be to recommend the change.
Well, we still have one change, I'm afraid. I'm sorry,
Is there-
Jennifer,
are
but
there
on the
other changes?
reports,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
on the reports,
Yeah, right there.
And the suggestion was to simply have the one sentence. If you're comfortable with putting everything in the policy document, this would simply say that you shall make reports and it'll be specified in the policy document how you should do it. Period. End of story. And the
I
rest of it
agree.
is completed.
I agree.
Is that
Would-
acceptable to people?
So this would not be here? It would.
Just the first sentence.
First,
Yeah.
And after period, after public ways.
yeah.
And then everything else gets deleted. There's
And the
no
quarterly
requirement for an annual
report
report.
appears
Right,
somewhere else.
right.
Because it's there in the policy.
Right. So that would be the thought.
Yeah. We don't need to repeat it.
Okay. But yeah, that would be the last change to this document. I think the one thing we haven't talked about, I'm afraid, and again, I apologize to Jennifer, is just 2 counselors or 1. I like 2, but we're not going to resolve it right in the next 2 minutes. But
I like
now-
2, and
yeah.
if the council decides 1,
So we're going to leave it as it is and see how it plays out. Right.
Yeah.
I would
I
like
don't-
that.
You want to
Okay.
have an odd number of people in case there's
That's right. Yeah. Well, there'll be odd people on it no matter what, but
no, well, an odd
at
number.
least 2 counselors.
I didn't say a number of odd people. I said an odd number of people.
Okay.
I like the 2 also.
All right. Well, we'll leave it then. So we could vote and let Jennifer go. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, and
That'd
the
be
only
great.
other
Thank
thing
you.
that we need to do for just a second, but actually, maybe I'll make a proposal, and that is that we not deal with the TSO charge this week and hold that till next week, when we have to deal with the carryover memo
That
and
makes sense.
Yeah.
the TSO charge. And so let's just take a motion to recommend the committee charge for the TPC as revised at the committee meeting on December 4.
So
Second,
moved. Yep.
That being the motion, Bob,
Aye.
Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Lord,
Aye.
Jennifer,
yes.
and I'm a yes, so it's unanimous. So,
I'm going to sign off, but thank you.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank
See
you.
you.
So
See you
we've
Monday.
agreed. I think we're ready to take a motion to adjourn unless there's anything else. The town manager had no appointments. We've had no minutes to consider. I can't think of any other business. So I believe that and we know what our, we have
So
not,
next time, Andy, if I may, next time we're basically dealing with a revised committee charge for TSO
and committee and the carryover.
and the carryover memo.
Yep.
And that's December 11th, right? We did accept, we're going to meet
Yes.
on a special. Okay. Okay.
That's it.
All right.
So I make a motion to adjourn. Is there a
Second.
second? There's a second from Bob.
Aye.
Okay, Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Lord,
Aye.
I'm an aye, and Jennifer is absent, so that is 4-0, and the motion to adjourn passes. Thank you.
Yeah.
We did a
Thank you,
lot today.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was good.
Good, good.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Take care.
see you Monday.